It's 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 unbelievable. It really is. You set up a scenario like this where the ballpark is packed to the gills. Fans are so excited about the starting pitcher that they're lined up across the bridge, across the 6th Street Bridge, all the way into downtown. All the way into downtown. That pitcher, some budding legend, is pitching. I mean, he wasn't great. Paul Skeens wasn't great, but he was plenty good enough. He wasn't about to be anybody's disappointment on the day. And the next thing you see, they get no hits. They get no hits. I mean, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? They're blowing things on the base pass. We're going to get into all this stuff today. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. We're talking about Pirates losing to the Guardians 3-0 today over at PNC Park. And we're talking about just such a bad situation that it blows my mind that nothing is still being done about it, unless you count the Pirates doing the right thing today and, giving out extra bobbleheads or promising extra bobbleheads to everybody who didn't get them. I don't even know why you need to do that. If you say you're going to have 10,000 bobbleheads, you've advertised appropriately in advance. But look, they've had some rotten PR, obviously, this month, so they're going to go and try to address it. They just need to get hitters. It's what they needed all winter. I don't know how this doesn't seem to sink in. Save the extra bobbleheads. Go and get some bats, preferably some of those torpedo bats. I'm going to take your questions here. We're going to be joined soon enough by José Negron, who's working the Pirates clubhouse right now. I'm not. I'm being lazy at home. Thomas says, hello, DK. Happy holiday. Buccos stink. I mean, we could just make that the entire show. Josh says, that call at third base was awful, but yeah, our team can't hit, and the lineup is a garbage pile of disappointment. Josh, I'm going to disagree with your first sentence. Here's why. The rule is that there's no time being called until time's been granted, and you can't leave the base until time's been granted. What happened was Manuel Valdez did this with his hand to call time, and he gave up the base to do so. Instantly, Jose Ramirez, who was just sitting there waiting to whack his hand, you might have noticed, tags him. That's the easiest. That's why do you think the call was upheld so quickly by New York? They just talked to each other and said, he can't leave the bag to do that, can he? No. Okay, well, that's a problem, because then, he's going to be out. And he was out like within about 2 seconds. So, I mean, that is what it is. Nothing. And if stay at second. You're down 3 runs. That play is dumb as rocks for this team that occasionally looks to be dumb as rocks. The same one that asked Brian Reynolds, their best hitter, to bunt earlier in the game when he hasn't bunted in years. Josh comes back and says, that's fair. He should have used his other hand. Well, in fairness to Valdez, he was legitimately hurt. So it's just a bad situation. Bottom line here with Valdez is don't go past second base here. Is Tommy Pham one of the worst Pirates signings of all time? He is not. He is not, but he could be. And he's not doing anything for this team right now, including, by the way, intangibly, the whole leadership thing or whatever. I've spoken with him a few times. He's more surly than he is inspirational, if that makes sense. Just being somebody who's mad all the time doesn't necessarily make you a leader. Andrew says, this season is setting up to be a historic offensive performance, and not in a good way. They're terrible. And I end up biting back a lot on this one. When I hear people say they're in a slump or they just need to get out of it, or Ben Cherington with this weirdness yesterday about how the analytics show that the surface performance doesn't match what their analytics people are seeing behind the scenes. You know what everybody else is seeing? They're looking right out at the scoreboard. Okay? I understand results aren't everything when it comes to hitting. If you hit the ball right on the screws and you hit it right at somebody, you're owed a favor at some point along the way. But my goodness, Colton says Fam's not only terrible, he's also a blank. He hasn't been with me. He's just been, and I didn't mean to characterize it that way, okay? But he's just angry about something all the time, including after games that go well. It's an unusual personality. Ryan Lytle comes up with what's actually the main subject of the day, and that's on a day like today, how do you sit Kutch, Bart, and IKF? Honestly, I'm okay if you disagree. Well, Ryan, I'm always okay if anybody agrees or disagrees with me or whatever, but when you say on a day like today, I'm going to presume that you mean sellout crowd, Skeens, and all that other stuff. This manager and the people over his head, including the analytics people that advise the lineups, could not care less about things like atmosphere, sellout crowd, Skeens, bobbleheads, none of that stuff. Okay. And you can actually give them high marks for that because you really don't want them to be doing that all that much. But when I take your phrase on a day like today, you know what I'm thinking? A day where you need to win the game because you haven't won very many games. Derek Shelton chooses to sit Andrew McCutchen, Joey Bart, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa because who knows? Kutch didn't want to sit. If anybody didn't notice this on social media, Kutch responded to a post about the lineup, today's lineup. This was before the game, that described Kutch as getting a, quote, day off, end quote. And Kutch responded to that by saying, quote, day off, end quote, with one eyebrow up emoji. That's a problem. That's a problem. I've covered the entirety of Kutch's career. The number of issues that he has stirred up in any capacity wouldn't fill one hand. Okay? He's just not that type of guy. This is him publicly questioning this utterly, spectacularly, mathematically, verifiably failed manager. That's not going to end well for the manager. Can you guys hear me? Because I have this thing cranked up and I'm practically eating this microphone, and the boss is telling me that I'm not loud enough. I don't know if maybe she has her volume down or something. I think Ryan Lytle says I'm fine. Michael says I didn't know Dan does a post-game show. Nice. Anybody else? John says it's fine. Maybe your volume is down. Huh? Yeah, I mean, yes, we can. Everybody says it's fine. I mean, I've never had a problem with this microphone at this setting. No, I'm holding it right here. Look, holding it. No fluctuation. Haven't moved it. It's fine. All right, volume is good, says Bowser Sports. You're fine, says Greg. Hear you just fine, says Bill. Hear you loud and clear, says Doug. Hear you well, says Eddie. Loud and clear, says Denny. All right, I guess we're doing okay. She is, to her inestimable credit, very much a perfectionist, and these are still test shows until we get around to doing the real thing. So I hope you'll forgive the little interruption and banter that'll occasionally happen here. We're getting there. See, I'm going to ask her real soon here to turn the lights on. It's getting a little dark in here. Callie says, "Oh, you're just fishing for comments that say you're fine." Yeah, you've seen right through me here. Robert Sham says, "I hear you." All right, guys, I get it. You can hear me here. James says, if the Pirates lose tomorrow, does Shelton go west with the team? How much more do they got to do, James? How much more? And for me to try to forecast that when we've been watching this for how long now? I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about 5+ years of this. It's no different. The mistakes that are committed by this team, by totally different players, are no different. Were you even the slightest bit surprised when Valdez rounded second? Were you the slightest bit surprised when Canario and his 103 average came up to hit and sent a catch, to which, by the way, Shelton said after the game he wanted a guy who could hit a home run. Meaning he wanted Canario to hit a home run instead of Kutch, who only has more home runs than anybody else in that ballpark's history by a factor of about 10. What do you do with this? What do you do with this? And you want me, James, to come up with some kind of prediction based on logic? I love you, man, but you can't. You can't explain the inexplicable, and you most certainly can't predict it. Goober says, I heard a few loud and clear on TV and also on the Cleveland radio side on Sirius. You're not saying what it is that you heard. I'm going to guess you're referring to the sell the team chants. Is that correct? Let me know, Goober, if that's what you're talking about. If so, I'll respond to it appropriately. I don't want to guess at what you're saying here. John says it's not just the hitting. The Pirates lead the National League in errors. Well, what you don't know, John, I mean, errors are kind of an antiquated way to judge defense. They're okay, but they're also bad at range. They're bad at hitting the right bases. These are all things that are very, very difficult to quantify. Goober does come back and say, yes, that he was referring to sell the team chance. There was one moment in particular where, was it when Caleb Ferguson was on the mound? Or when I don't remember, but it was like in the 7th or 8th inning where the crowd really, really let it fly. And just get used to it, because that's what's coming. That's what's coming. Yeah, Colton says, yeah, that was a time of the game when that happened. When you see the crowd just reflexively doing that when the thing's going bad, it's not just payroll. It's not just lack of talent. I know that's the easy, lazy stuff. And if you want that, you've got radio talk shows you can call. Okay. There's just a lot more to it. There really is. Tim says this management team is wasting a possibly top 5 pitching staff with this pathetic offense, besides a couple. Well, in fairness, the Pirates have not had a top 5 starting pitching staff to this point in the season. They've been good. They've been predictably good. They could become that, Tim, if and when Bubba Chandler arrives and follows through on his considerable promise. But at the moment, I don't know. I can't criticize the starting pitching. I just can't. When you're talking about where this team is right now, they're really far down the list. Yes, this management team is wasting, not just with this pathetic offense, but with everything that they do. Please do not let them off the hook by just referring to, payroll. They love it when you do that. It gives them a built-in excuse for everything else that they do. Destin comes in and just says hi. She does that a lot. Damal says, I heard and saw it on social media that the TV feed cut the crowd mic during booing and sell the team shed. That did not happen. That did not happen. You don't believe everything you see on social media. Douglas Smith says, how long does it take to rebuild a development culture? Years. Start freaking out. Well, here's the problem. When you bring in, I'm being specific here to Ben Cherington's hiring of Derek Shelton. When you bring in somebody who has that mindset that they're going to be patient, that they're going to smile through adversity and whatever else as the team goes through expected struggles, it's really hard to change that mindset. That's why you don't see this manager ever flip out unless it's a rules situation in which he feels that he's being disrespected versus the other manager. You don't see him get upset about things that have actually occurred on the field, or things that are lousy results or embarrassing performances. Denny says that Shelton's writing most of this off to Spencer Horwitz, Jared Jones, and other injuries. Don't forget Nick Gonzalez. But all they did was expose how fragile the roster was. I'm sorry. You can't do that, okay? Horwitz isn't anything special. He's a platoon hitting, low power first baseman who wasn't going to get you that much except in the right situations. Okay? No, it's as simple as that. Tiger says, I was watching it live. They definitely cut the crowd mic when Ferguson was pitching during the sell the team. I've seen the replay. There's the crowd just the chant faded off. The chant wasn't going to go on forever. It was not only was it loud, not only was it clear through the television, but the broadcast announcers. Okay, because I usually watch with sound down. I bet when I got the sense this was happening, I had to sound up, and then I noticed that the announcers who are paid by the team went silent. So they were actually letting it play. They were letting it play out. So what you're saying here is exactly the opposite of what I actually would think would happen. Dave White says, who comes up to replace Valdez if he goes on the IL? Real easy answer for this one, Dave. Nobody cares. Whoever comes up is going to be just as irrelevant as Valdez was, because that's the status of this organization. You know, this team is so far away from worrying about who the 26th or 27th guy on the roster is. I'm not being mean here, Dave. I appreciate you. I know you've been with me forever, but my goodness, that is just not a thing. Okay. When you're asking your best hitter to bunt, to put down a bunt when there's a man on base, the problems and the issues are way up here over anything like that. What you're talking about, Dave, is something that you'd worry about if the Pirates were in any kind of conversation to be relevant. Rob Meyer says, happy to see Valdez hitting hard. His batting average should climb, not if he's on the IL. I see Henry Davis almost sitting on home plate when he bats. I think he's a bit too close. Henry's gotten advice from here to eternity. And at some point or other, Rob, he's got to tune out the advice. I had a talk with someone close to him recently. He's got to just play baseball. He's got to stop overthinking things. Andrew says, doesn't Nutting get embarrassed by this team? It depends on how you define embarrassed. Embarrassed, if you think about it, is a personal thing, okay? If I'm comfortable walking down Fifth Avenue downtown naked, and I have no issues with that, then technically speaking, I should be embarrassed, but I'm not. Okay? Sorry to throw that one at everybody, but I'm not. If you're nutting and your team is just terrible year after year after year, you've had the 4 winning seasons, 3 playoff seasons, and you've been the owner since 2007, you should be embarrassed. Is he? His actions don't suggest as much. Okay? There's the team losing is not a red line for him. Okay? That's the best way that I can put that. He would prefer that they win. Then he says, how much more can the O'Neill Cruz experiment in center continue? He can't field. He can't throw accurately. Why is he not at first, taking his frustration out on the ball? Denny, first off, calling it an experiment, I know that's common terminology when people talk about this kind of stuff, is inaccurate. This is not that. They're not trying him out there. They believe, and they have shared, that all of their various analytics people and everybody else, who knows how they come up with this stuff, believe that he can be a top-notch center fielder, that he can be a guy, he can cover the ground, he can do this, he has the arm. But what they don't account for is just plain old recklessness, irresponsibility. Watch the way, it's not so much the big blunders, it's the little ones. Watch the way he runs toward a line drive single that's to his left or right, especially to his right. The way he runs toward it, he is begging to kick that ball with one of his legs that's still moving. He has yet to figure out how to stop and appropriately get that ball. Now, he has coaches. Tarek Brock works with the outfielders. He has people who are teaching him. Are they doing a good enough job of teaching him? Apparently not. Is it all on them? Absolutely not. But he's not all there all the time. Robert says he zones out, and that's true. And look at, in this game, he should have had an easy double. Hit a ball 118 miles an hour to right field. He hit it hard enough that the right fielder out there couldn't handle it properly. but he was just down to first base. That's not me picking on Cruz. I love the guy. Just it's not happening out there in center field. He's having a better year offensively than a lot of people are giving him credit for. Field coaching is the last priority for Ben Cherington. I'm not sure what that means. Andrew says, do you think there's an attendance number that would force ownership to make changes? No. That stuff never matters. It's a small portion of revenue. If you do or don't show up for a game, it doesn't matter all that much to the bottom line. This is all about national revenues, shared revenues, and then in the future, focusing on a salary cap system. Denny says that fly ball that dropped in front of him yesterday killed the illusion for me. Still love watching him hit, though. Yeah. Canario, Sawinski, and Pham, says Phil. Is there no one in Indy? No. And we're getting into the real problems here. If you want to get into Nick York or who's the other guy? Billy Cook, these other guys that they picked up late last season that had some people peculiarly excited for a short time. They don't have hitters. They don't have a hitting prospect until you make it all the way down to Termarr Johnson, and Termarr's not even doing much of anything. And then from there, Connor Griffin, who looks like a genuine prospect until they screw him up. But he's all the way in Bradenton. He's basically, for all intents and purposes, Griffin is a first-year pro. And what you're going to see is somebody who is an outsized physical specimen hitting the ball really well in the Florida State League. And you're going to think a little bit too much of his production as it's happening, if that makes any sense. I'd argue he could have started higher than he did, but that's also just me. Callie says, the GM can say the words internal metrics all he wants. We know a garbage lineup when we see one with our human eyes. Let's have some fun, Callie. You ready? Here's your lineup for today. This is after the game. Okay? These are current statistics for the guys who were utilized today in an allegedly important game against Cleveland. Cruz is at 234, but he's got an 863 OPS. As I said, he's doing quite well. Reynolds is slumping. Reynolds does have a history. Reynolds is at 224 with a 671 OPS. He will heat up. Brian Hayes, I'm not sure what to say. He is playing. He is healthy, but he's batting 197 with a 551 OPS. He batted third today. Valdez is starting to hit the ball a little bit better, but he's at 239, 775. Pham, 127. 392 OPS. Adam Frazier had a double today, but he's at 206, 525. Jared Triolo, always going to be more of a glove guy, 206, 525. I'm sorry, 148, 429. I was reading Frazier's. Jack Sawinski, I love the kid. I loved what happened to him this spring. I love that he was walking around smiling and feeling good about himself, great about himself, had a 350 spring, hit everything on the screws. He's at 128. 398, looking like he's not going to last here a whole lot longer. Canario, I've already buried. Henry Davis at 150. That's everyone talks about Shelton's batting order. Who cares about the batting order? You know, you could put that in any order you want. Just throw it into a hat and toss it up in the air, and you're not going to get any kind of production. We have Jose joining us here, and he's going to do that right after we take this little break. You going to do that? That was a really quick break. Can you hear me, Jose? You can't hear me. Let's try it again. Checking on Jose. Can you hear me? Well, she'll try to so the boss here will try to connect with Jose through texting or whatever to see if we can get that fixed. In the meantime, he's just going to sit there and wait for us. Tim says, DK, you said numerous times system depth is terrible. Year 6 of the revamp of the system. You know what's a fun exercise, Tim? You know what you can do? Go look at the state of this system in 2019, the one that Cherington was supposed to bolster. Go look at it. And then ask yourself if it's better now or better then. I know the answer. but it's a fun exercise. That's how badly this has gone. It's actually gone backward. The system was not this bad under Neil Huntington and Kyle Stark at the time that they were fired. Robert says that Sawinski's done. Pham is over the hill. It's a lot longer list than that, my friend. Everybody's going to start looking at fringe guys, and fringe guys aren't going to fix this for you. Okay? This team needs a complete change, top to bottom. Stop trying to fix it with, who's going to take Valdez's place or who's going to come up from Indy. It's not there. Everything else is a waste of everybody's time. Colton says, I wish that you could do these live podcasts after every game. I wish Jose could hear me. Nope. Tell Jose, everyone try to tell Jose to look at his text. Look at your text. Jose, look at your text. He's not looking at his texts. He's looking straight here. He's texting him, trying to fix his audio. Rob says, Ben Charrington said we're waiting on reinforcements. Nick Gonzalez has 500 at-bats and has been a below-average hitter. His career stats are nearly exactly the same as those of Valdez. These are fringe major leaguers. Yeah. The people who didn't play today, of all the people who didn't play today, the only one who should have been in there, well, you can argue for IKF, but is Kutch. And that's what we're talking about. We're still having conversations about how the only hitters in this lineup on a regular basis who are any good, not one of them was acquired by Charrington. Cruz was a trade acquisition by Huntington. Remember, that was the Tony Watson deal with the Dodgers. Brian Reynolds, acquired by Huntington. That was in the original Kutch trade with the Giants. And you have Kutch, who was drafted by Dave Littlefield. David says trade Falter for hitting. No, I don't want this general manager trading away pitchers for hitting, because you know what he does when he does that? He trades away Luis Ortiz for a platoon hitting, low power first baseman who's yet to grip a bat in anger for this team in Spencer Horwitz. That's just bad. These are everything you guys are doing here is piecemeal small stuff. Okay? This is it, Robert, right here with fireworks coming out. Okay? Every stinking one of them needs to go. Jose, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, wow. There it is. Were you not looking at the text?
I did not see any of the text. The signal wasn't great in here, so I was trying to move around. I think I've sat in every single seat here in the press conference room to see if it would work, but I think we're good to go now.
Let's talk first about Andrew McCutchen. He went on social media before the game. He complained, very obviously complained, that he wasn't in the lineup, and he put in quotation marks. What was it? Getting rest or something like that. A rest day or day off is what it was. He said day off. Yeah. Along with a one eyebrow up emoji. And then he's left with, not being in the lineup. And worst off, I don't even remember the 103 guy's name now who ended up hitting instead of him. Terrible player. The one in center field who threw the 3-hopper into the infield. What's his name? Canario. I think we've lost Jose again. You can't win like that. You can't win like that. There's so much of this general feel right now around the Pirates. Heck, even Jose's internet, you can attach to that. There's so much of this general feel of just everybody's panicking, flailing. Just put it to an end. You got a West Coast trip coming up. No, get rid of all of them. Send them out west with a clean slate. I know it's going to be rough. It's the Dodgers and the Angels. I know that. Just go. Move on from whatever this is here. I'm going to take a couple more questions today from you guys. Yeah, it's Canario, Brett. I eventually got to it. Rob Myers wants to know, how did Bednar do today? Yeah, he was a little bit shaky. He gave up some solid contact. He also got the results that he wanted. If you ask him, and I have, he feels that his results are not as bad as the way he's pitched. I don't agree with that, and quite apparently neither do the people who run the Pirates, because they sent down a 2-time All-Star to the minor leagues, and that's not a routine move.
I'm back.
Okay. Colton says if you look at the Fangraphs roster, it tells you who was acquired where. On the current roster, there's 4 guys. You mean from Charrington? Yeah. I mean, he's been absolutely awful. Anyway, I wanted to ask if there was any sort of fallout, because I have yet to be able to check out your written reporting on our site. Any fallout from the Kutch thing?
Yeah, we were waiting around to see if Kutch would be in the clubhouse. He was not in there whenever we exited, but Derek Shelton did acknowledge the decision to pinch hit with Alexander Canario and Jack Sawinski's spot. Kutch was available today. That's first and foremost. He was available. Decided to go with
used.
Yeah, he didn't get used. Did not get used. Canario was the decision there, mainly because of his, as Derek Shelton mentioned, his ability to hit the ball in the ballpark. But it wasn't just Kutch that wasn't used, but IKF was an option. Joey Bart would have been an option, and Canario was the decision there.
We're joined by a Pittsburgh legend. Our friend Jack Wilson shows up and says, "Hi, DK." Actually, we don't refer to him as a Pittsburgh legend anymore. He's now father of budding legend. Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it, right? He says I'm his favorite reporter. The truth is, he's my favorite shortstop. And he would tell you guys, the only thing I ever call him, I never use his name. I do this with a lot of people. I only ever call him shortstop because he's always my shortstop. Best defensive shortstop I'll have seen in my lifetime. And what's his trying to help you guys out in Milwaukee? Oh, that's what you're doing. Your boy's playing the Brewers. I get it. All right. This is like a really far distant remote interview with the great number 2 over there. Robert Shum comes in with fire all of them, including Nutting. You can't fire the owner. That's just how that stuff goes. Todd Walter says this is the result of a 5-year rebuild. They just want to. This is who they are. They believe in the build. They believe in, to quote that word there, the process. That's what they see. We'll see you in September, shortstop. I love that. Jack Wilson shows up, follows his kid around everywhere. It's just such a cool thing to see Jacob doing as well as he is already in the major leagues. He might out-hit Daddy, although Daddy had the 200-hit season. Never take that away from him. See that? Look at that. He gets 2 thumbs up for the 200-hit season. We won't forget that one anytime soon. That, by the way, Jack's 200-hit season, I just have to throw this in here before we sign off for the day, is one of the most common examples that advanced analytics people use when they say, here's something we didn't see coming, meaning that the numbers didn't necessarily pile up or whatever. Jack just felt it. And he felt it all year long. And by the way, he remained a solid, consistent hitter after that. But the breakthrough that he had offensively was something that he says, I didn't see it coming either. Oh, man. Robert Shum gets the comment of the day that, Jack, we miss you. Phil wants you back at shortstop today. I don't know how he's going to be able to handle those deep balls, the balls into the deep hole at short there. But I would imagine he'd still be able to have a little bit of giddy up because he has that whole infield arrangement in his backyard. Guys, we're signing off for the day. So is the shortstop. So is Jose, wherever he is out there stuck in internet land. Jack says he has 0 range, but he means, of course, not then. He means now. Don't forget to check out Daily Shot of Pirates and say something nice about your old shortstop. See you guys later.